All right. Welcome. So, semen retention benefits. The reality of benefits, or what we believe to be the benefits of semen retention. And I'm basically about to reframe and reword the way you view benefits, the way you view semen retention, right? And just change your perspective a little bit, your perception of what doing semen retention really is. Because the misconception out there is that when you lose a streak, and I'll get into why I don't use streaks at all, but when you lose a streak, in the typical sense of the word benefit, it typically has you believing or thinking that you have to be retaining at all times in order to receive the benefits, right? And this is true to an extent. You receive the benefits based on how well you're able to transmute the sexual urge and the sexual energy, and how well you're able to funnel that into other endeavors, right? It's not so much about the days, the amount of days, but the amount of days will impact how well you can transmute this energy and how much of this energy you transmute. So it's not incorrect to believe that the amount of days is important, but it is incorrect to believe that you have to retain for a certain amount of days before you can receive a certain benefit, right? Or that you have to continue to retain to continue to receive the benefits, right? The benefits received on semen retention change you and your human being and your human vessel, your psyche, your soul, and your spirit on a near permanent level, right? Now you can revert backwards, right? You can go backwards if you were to go into old habits, right? If you were to return back to releasing as normal, right? You will return backwards, or you will fall backwards essentially. But if you are to fail and get yourself back up and keep pushing forward and keep moving forward, you will notice over time that you actually still maintain the benefits. And if you implement some of the practices that I'm going to teach you, you will be able to retain some of the benefits so long as you continue to push through. And you will also learn more lessons that allow you to become better at retaining semen, right? So as you learn, as you grow, as you develop, as you realize yourself, right? Because that's what this process is it's realizing your own flaws of lust. When you realize yourself and you see this, then you can transform it. Then you can transmute it. So all relapses are not bad, but they are if it is a means or a reason to give up, right? If it is something that actually stops you in your path, yes, it is very bad, very detrimental, but it is natural for it to happen along the journey. The end goal is to stop it completely and fully transform yourself, but the purpose, the journey is realizing these flaws, realizing this lower nature within ourselves, and then learning to transform it, learning to transmute it. Right. So before I get into the video, I would like everybody to go down and click the first link in the description to go and check out Self-Improvement Synthesized. Right. I've never made a video on semen retention before, but this is a topic that I teach very in depth within that community. But it isn't the main goal. It isn't the main purpose, right? Semen retention is simply a tool for reaching our goals, for realizing our fullest potential. It is not the end goal. If you retain alone, you will see no progress. But if you use it as a tool while working towards other endeavors, you can see extreme amounts of progress in a very short period of time. And so that's why I'm going to quickly teach you guys parts of the practice today. But mainly this video is about the benefits and reframing how we view the benefits and what we view them as, right? So my story, how semen retention changed my life. I was very lost, right, when I was releasing often. Right? Porn was a problem for me. And I would say I was probably releasing at least every day, but when it was really bad, it was more like 2 to 3 times a day, right? And this was when I was young, too. This was when I was about 13, 14. And I can notice now, I can see now how it created a lot of the versions of myself that taught me to hate myself, right? So I had never had a form of self-hatred, right? I've always deeply intuitively known that, like, known to have confidence, known to have self-love, right? But at a point, it kind of shifted where I no longer had much confidence in myself. I no longer had much self-love or self-belief, right? I viewed a lot of who I was becoming as negative, as bad, as just somehow not good enough, right? And now looking back, I can realize that all of these pieces of myself were created by my own lust, right? Were created by these habits of releasing. And I'll get into some of the negatives of release, likely in this video, but maybe not. But I do have a video coming up that's going to be a full guide, a full course on semen retention. It'll probably be about an hour and a half long video, and it'll go in depth into the entire practice, into all of the benefits, into how to actually do it. But like I said, this video is focusing more on the benefits, so I probably won't get too into that. But one of the negatives is this lower self-transformation, right? Because I will probably get into this, but the semen itself is our means of transformation, right? It is our means of transmuting the aspects of ourselves, right? And transforming them into something higher or something lower, right? It's a double-edged sword. This energy is very powerful, but that doesn't mean it's all good, right? It also doesn't mean it's all bad, right? It's a double-edged sword. It's actually dependent on how we use it. Right? The way that we use this energy will determine how we transform and what we become. Just as I have said in previous videos that attention, wherever your attention goes, energy flows, yes, but whatever you give the most attention to will determine how you transform, right? Will determine what you become and who you become. And it's to the same degree because where you give your attention is also what you give your energy to. Correct? Where attention goes, energy flows. And the energy that we are talking about is sexual, right? The energy that we are referring to is sexual energy, right? Because this is the energy that flows into and through the world around us, through all of the animals, all of the critters in nature, everything, right? All of reality, this universal flow of energy, all returns back to this basic form, this basic state of semen, of sexual energy, right? And semen is not just the fluid in our bodies as men, right? Semen itself is, in more esoteric beliefs, is seen as the vital force, right? The vital energy, which means that it is the foundation of life, the foundation of life itself. And this is a very intense topic to grasp. I guess you could say the word intense, but it's a very deep topic to grasp. It's a very deep piece of information to grasp and fully understand, right? And it will take time. And honestly, it takes retention to understand, right? It takes retaining and transmuting the energy to increase your level of consciousness to a state where you can fully comprehend something like this, right? It's very difficult at first, right? It's very difficult when you're stuck in your lower nature to perceive a reality where sex is actually a positive thing, right? Because you have become so accustomed to destroying its energy, right? Destroying its power. But when my addiction was really bad, I noticed that I started to dislike the person that I was becoming. And that is natural because you will become a person who is not of God, right? That is not of a higher nature. You will naturally descend into your own lower nature, right? Instead of transmuting that lower nature to bring it into a higher state, you actually transform your higher nature into a lower one. But I had multiple motivations for why I started semen retention, why I ended up quitting porn, why I learned sexual transmutation and eventually sexual alchemy, which we will not get into in this video, or likely any other videos coming up, but there will definitely be a video at some point that I release on this topic. But specifically semen retention and sexual transmutation, these two things completely transformed my life, right? I went from constantly wanting things. I come from constantly desiring to do big things in the world, right? But there was such a distance, it felt like, right? Such a wide gap between me and the version of me that I wanted to become. And such a gap that it didn't seem possible to cross, right? It didn't seem possible to actually become that version. It didn't seem possible to pass beyond the current state, beyond the current version of myself, in order to become that version that I was looking to become. Now it feels like there is no difference, right? There is no distance between me and who I want to become, except for this work, right? Except for the presence, except for the time frame, right? It's a matter of work and waiting patiently, right? But I already am that version of me. I already am that person. And of course, I'm becoming closer to that every single day. But it's already within me, right? It's already present within me. And I can only feel that, and I can only perceive that because I've transmuted my sexual energy. But there was always a distance. There was always this sense of, I can't quite reach it, right? And then as soon as I learned and mastered how to transmute sexual energy, that's when I began to actually feel myself, perceive myself as already being that version of me, right? There was no longer a difference between who I wanted to become and who I was, right? It was just a matter of destroying certain parts, right, that didn't even align anyways, that weren't even who I was anyways, destroying certain parts and removing certain parts to become clearer, to become more full and more whole. But this YouTube channel, for example, all of what's playing out within my YouTube channel is the result of my success and my failures on semen retention, right? Because I still haven't mastered it completely, right? I still haven't perfected this skill. That's also why I won't talk about sexual alchemy quite yet. I haven't quite perfected the skill, but I have mastered how to use it, right? For example, I don't keep streaks, right? And I'll get into exactly why I don't keep streaks and exactly what the purpose of this is, but I don't know what day I'm on, right? Like, I have no clue what day I'm on, right? But I know that I have failed recently enough that I can't call myself a master of semen retention, right? But right now I can feel the sexual energy flowing through me, right? I can feel that power flowing through me because it's a very powerful energy. It's a very powerful force. And when you learn to transmute it, relapse doesn't even really stop you unless you let it infect your mind. Once you've let it infect your mind, then it can actually bring you back, right? But relapse itself can't stop you as long as you know how to transmute the energy and use it, right? If you're using the energy, you're constantly going to have an abundance of that energy, right? And the end goal is to learn how to stop releasing completely, right? Completely stop release, right? Completely plug that gap. But it is something that takes time. It is something that takes learning. It is something that takes constant effort, constant trial and error, right? You have to be able to fall and fail, but you need to fail forward. You need to fall forward, right? You cannot keep falling backwards. That's the point. But last year, I decided that I was going to start my YouTube channel, right? I decided that I was done waiting to do the thing that I really desired to do, waiting to become a certain type of person to do the thing I really wanted to do, and just do it and pursue it. And so I created the vision, and then I followed through on that vision. I took action. I put the energy into the work itself, right? I didn't just hold on to the energy. I actually funneled it into the work itself. And what that did was it rippled out a series of experiences, a series of lessons internally and externally, and that created a perfect environment for me to self-transform, self-transcend, and become the version of me that was actually capable of doing this. and actually doing this work. And that's exactly what happened, right? Since that point, it's been hard to go back, right? There's been times in my YouTube journey where I've slacked and I haven't uploaded for a period of time, but I always return back now because it's ingrained into who I am. It's a part of who I am. I completely transformed who I am as a result of me retaining my semen and transmuting it, right? Transmuting that energy. Another point is you can't just hold it within you, right? If you intend to actually retain your seed at all times for the rest of your life, which is the goal, right? This is the goal. We will retain for the rest of our lives, right? If you desire to retain for your entire life, you need to understand that means you can't stop moving. That means you can't stop growing. That means you can't stop evolving. You don't have the choice. You don't have the option to fall back. You have to keep pushing forward, right? Because if you just hold this energy within you, it will eventually destroy you. Because it's not meant to be still, right? This is why truly celibate people, right? Think about priests, think about nuns, think about monks. You'll hear stories of them. For example, there's a story of a monk. I can't name who it is because I don't remember, but there's a story of a monk who practiced celibacy his entire life as a monk, and he eventually moved to the US, where sexual indulgence is more acceptable, right? And he got married. He finally started having sex, right? But what happened was it corrupted him. He had spent so long suppressing the energy that the moment some of it was released, it took him over, right? He became that lust that he was repressing. And the story is that he basically cheated on his wife multiple times over because he couldn't control his sexual desires. This is to show that it's not healthy to suppress the energy, because it needs to move. But I will get into this later in the video, but it needs to move somewhere. So if we want it to stop moving towards sexual indulgence, we need to start moving it towards our own goals, our own work, our own endeavors, right? Our own fitness. Fitness and exercise is one of the biggest ways to transmute sexual energy. But we need to funnel it into these things. We need to work on these things. We need to flow with these things, right? We need our energy to flow with these things, right? Because if the energy does not move, and like I was saying earlier, the alternative to it moving downwards and outwards and being expressed in sexual indulgence is for it to move upwards, up the spinal column, being transmuted into a higher but more subtle version. And subtle doesn't mean it's like less prominent, right? Subtle means it's lighter but more potent, right? So it becomes more subtle. It becomes lighter and more potent, more powerful. As it raises up the spinal column, it's more usable, more accessible, right? And then as it becomes more accessible, we can then take that and funnel it into our goals, into our work, into our exercising, everything, right? Into learning, growing, and evolving. This is the alternative, right? And this probably isn't what you wanted to hear. You probably clicked on this video because you wanted to hear all about the benefits, all about how great semen retention is going to be. If you just retain your seed, everything will go your way, right? That's not how it is. That's not how it goes. That's not the case, right? In fact, it's the opposite. Semen retention brings out the deepest parts of you, the darkest parts of you, and it forces you to face them. It forces you to actually overcome them and transform, right? So you can't just perform. You can't just begin semen retention and expect that women will flock to you and all of your goals, all your money goals will just appear in front of your face, right? I hope to God nobody watching this video is that dumb, right? Because the truth is, everything that you do in life takes work. Everything. With how amazing semen retention is, it should be a given that it will take a lot of work and a lot of effort, right? I've been on this journey for a year and I still haven't even completely mastered it. I still haven't completely overcome and transcended my own lust, right? I can't sit here and act like I'm a master, right? But the benefits are real. The reality of benefits is that they are real. You do receive benefits, but they come at a cost. They come at the cost of your old self, your lower nature, your ego. You have to kill these parts of yourself before you can even receive any of these benefits, right? There's a part of myself that I'm still struggling to kill. And that is why I'm stuck. Simple as that. But as soon as I've beat that specific part of me, right, that specific challenge, I'll reach a new level. It'll probably get more difficult, but I'll receive more of the benefits, right? And this is life. This is evolution, right? And so retention is basic to actually living life and actually becoming the highest version of yourself. Because it is the means for us to fully evolve. It is the means for us to fully face ourselves, fully face our animalistic nature, and transmute it and transform it. Now, what is semen? I know it's 20 minutes into the video. As far as my script goes, I've only told the first part, my personal story, my personal experience. Now we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the video. So I hope you are ready for more, because I know that was a lot, but now it's the actual video. Now it's the actual video. Now it's the actual information, right? So what is semen retention? What is the purpose of semen retention? What even is it, right? The power of semen. I've pretty much gone over what the power of semen is, but we'll quickly go over it, right? So semen itself is the sexual energy, right? It is the sexual force. It is the vital force, right? And so what does that mean? The vital force. This is the energy that moves through your nervous system. This is the energy that flows through your body, through your brain, through your spirit, and your soul, right? It is essentially your soul's energy encapsulated into a very small, very compact, very dense, very potent, and very powerful substance, right? Your body's main mission and main goal is to, yes, reproduce, but really it is to keep up the quality of the semen as well as the quantity. Every time we lose semen, this becomes our body's main priority. What does that mean? That means that it puts aside all other systems of the body. It essentially, every time that you release, and I mean every single time, your body puts aside all of the resources necessary for the rest of your body to function so that it can create and produce more semen. That is how important this substance is. It is the main substance within the body. It is the main resource within the body. It contains pretty much all of our most essential vitamins and nutrients, and it's stored within that semen, right? And the purpose of it, the real purpose of it, is that's supposed to feed your body, your brain, your daily endeavors, right? That is supposed to be your fuel source. That is why I can make this video fasted, because I have stored energy within my body. It doesn't mean my semen, just my semen, but because I have energy stored within my body, and specifically sexual energy flowing through me, I don't need to eat all the time because I have that resource. I have that nutrients, right? That vital force, that fuel. And that fuel is the most powerful fuel you could ever have, right? You think you need to eat to recover? You eat in order to sustain the semen. The food that you eat goes into sustaining the semen. First, at least. Then it will go to the rest of your body. But first, the semen. And the power of semen itself is simply that it is the source of all of our desire. It is the source of all of our motivation. It is the source of all of our potential as human beings, right? All of the dreams that you'd like to manifest, all of the goals that you have are dependent on your ability to transmute the sexual energy and the semen. The moment you lose that semen, you lose the potentiality to reach any new reality, any new potential timeline, any new transformed higher version of yourself, right? Every time you lose the semen, you solidify yourself into the current state of reality, into your current state of reality. And that's pretty hard to hear, because that means every time that you release, you are becoming more of the current version of yourself. You are becoming more stagnant, more solidified into this part of you. And obviously there's a way to break it, and that is to retain and then transform. I've mentioned before, retaining alone will not save you. But if you retain and then go through a journey of self-transformation, self-transcendence, you will see amazing things happen in your life. You will become a completely different version of yourself. You will forget who the old version of you even was, right? That's one thing I'm actually struggling with right now. The version of myself that I was before I started transmuting my sexual energy, it almost seemed like I was more clear on my goals, more purposeful, more driven, but I've transformed completely, and I've now forgotten who the old version of me was. And so, yes, it included all of the bad shit, but it also included that part of me as well, right? And so my next journey and my next mission is to build it back up, because that piece of me that I lost was only a sliver of who that version of me was. It was only an internal itch, right? It was an itch to try and become better. Now I'm in a state where I can actually do it. I can actually become it fully, right? But that meant I had to forget completely who I was before and become a completely different version of who I am. And that'll happen over and over and over again. That's evolution. That's life. That's growth. Becoming new, forgetting about the old, letting go of the old. And you need to keep the semen within the body, because without it, the body starts dying. The body starts to decay. When animals reproduce, there are certain chemicals released within their brains that essentially tells their body it's time to die. It's time to cease. Our mission is done. We can now shut down. Humans are the same way. Look around. When most people age, they decay. The natural flow of evolution says that we shouldn't decay. As we get older, we should become more intelligent, stronger, smarter, more capable, wiser, right? But you notice that it's very typical for older people to start forgetting things. It's typical for older people's brains to stop working as well, right? Alzheimer's. I can't think of the others, but there are others, right? You also notice that their skin begins to sag. It looks more lifeless almost, right? They become lifeless the longer they go on. This is the result of losing the semen. This is the result of sexual indulgence. becoming decrepit in old age is not supposed to be normal. But it is, because we have normalized the very sin that causes it. And so that's just one example of why we need to keep the semen in our bodies. The other is that it's very, very painful for our bodies to go through, right? It is a very painful process for our bodies to go through. When you release, your body has to now strip energy and nutrients away from your heart, your brain, your stomach, all other organs and systems of the body. I mentioned the heart and brain first because they're the most important. But it's all of the systems within the body. Energy and nutrients is stripped from all of these systems. That is why you feel like you are dying when you are in the recovery phase of release. When you have just released and you're within 4 days of your last release, within those 4 days is known as the recovery period. That recovery period, you feel like shit, you have no energy, and you almost feel a little bit dead because your body is stripping all of your energy, all of your nutrients, all of your vitality from every other system of the body in order to restore the semen, because you cannot live without it. And so the way we keep this resource, right, this powerful substance within our body, is to actually let go. Let go of all these desires. Look at and face the craving, right? Look at and face the lust that you have. Look at and face yourself within it. And realize that it is you. Because the way a lot of people describe lust, it almost sounds like something they can't control. But it is. It's you. Right? I'll even acknowledge here, all of the times that I relapse, or that I have in the past, are because of me directly. I created it. Even if it was one of the deepest, darkest parts of myself that I can't see, that I feel so separated from, that I can't understand how it's me, it still is. It always is, right? Because you are the only one who can create it. It comes from within. Right? And you could say, oh, but this woman was very tempting, right? She was saying a lot of things that were whatever, right? She was saying all these things. She looked this way. She was acting this way towards me. It is not her. It is always you. Always. You have the control. You have the power to say no. You have the power to control the flow of this energy. And that's something that's hard to hear, right? Because a lot of people on semen retention are struggling because feels like they have no control. The longer you go, the harder it gets, right? But it is all within your control. You just have to be willing enough to face the parts of yourself causing it. You have to be willing enough to face the parts of yourself that are bringing it out of you. But the reason urges become harder as you retain longer is because there's more of you coming up. There's more parts of yourself being revealed to you. The deeper you get into the journey, the more of your lust can be revealed. But that isn't always easy. It isn't supposed to be easy, right? All right, so now we will go over the real benefits of semen retention. So the first piece of this is it's not based on days, but energy transmuted. And what do I mean by this? You don't receive benefits based on how many days that you retain for. Yes, it plays into it. Yes, it is a factor. Yes, the longer you retain, the more energy you can transmute. But if you retain for 30 days, but your mind stays exactly the same, after those 30 days, you will return back to who you were before. But you will have more energy to give to it. And so therefore, you will become more of that version of you. You will have more lust. You will have more cravings. You will probably release more and relapse more because you have created more of yourself by retaining this energy. But you have created more of yourself, but then not transformed yourself. And so therefore, you've created more of the version of you that you already were. And eventually you will return back to that. But if you retain for even 7 days and you really, really, really focus on the self-transformation aspect, you really focus on overcoming the urges, you really focus on facing that lust, facing that energy, and really, really breathing through it, right? Really circulating that energy through your body, right? Really transmuting it into other activities. You will actually receive more benefits than the person on day 30. The person on day 30 will experience a plateau. While you, because you continue to overcome, because you continue to transmute, you don't reach a plateau. There are no actual plateaus in semen retention unless you stop transmuting. Unless you internally get stuck and stalled, right? This energy continues to transmute itself. It continues to transform you, right? Forever. It will continue to evolve, become more potent. You will become more powerful, right? As you grow, it grows. Your sexual energy will grow and develop with you as you do. Your seed will develop and eventually grow and blossom into a full tree, I guess you could say, right? But it is not about the amount of days that you spend, but on energy transmuted. Does this make sense? So the next thing is semen retention superpowers, is what I prefer to call them, right? It is not semen retention benefits. They're more like superpowers. They're more like parts of yourself that you unlock that you would not have unlocked without this higher state of being and this higher state of energy, right? They are aspects of your being, natural aspects and parts of your being that are now unlocked and revealed to you and accessible to you as a result of you learning how to transmute the sexual energy. And this is why I say that relapse itself isn't a problem, right? And I don't like people who act like relapse is good or okay. It is very bad. It is very harmful to your body. It is very negative, but it will not stop you on your path. It is not a reason to view yourself as reset, right? Restarted, because the learning lessons that you went through on your journey will carry into your next streak, right? Those learning lessons will carry into your next streak. The benefits that you received will carry into your next streak because they are not so much benefits. They're actually superpowers. They are parts of you that you unlock. And when you unlock a part of yourself, it doesn't just go away. It will take you fully returning back to your old self and reverting in order for you to completely lose that now. It is actually going to be harder for you to do so, to completely go back, right? And so each and every streak, you transform yourself more and more and more. And so eventually, of course, if you keep going with it, eventually you will be able to retain forever, right? Eventually you will be able to stop completely, right? But it is a process of constant back and forths between you and your own ego until you learn to destroy it. And that's natural. That's part of the process. That's why release itself isn't the problem, right? But it is when you become defeated by relapse. That is the problem. Because when you become defeated, then you return back to your old ways. You return back to who you were. And then, as I've said before, that is how you end up reverting. That is how you end up losing your benefits, right? But if you are practicing sexual transmutation, you should be able to bounce back by the very next day. And this is something that a lot of people are going to look at me and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, you can't. It takes 4 days to get out of the recovery phase. If you know how to transmute the energy, you can return back to a state of vitality within a day. You won't be back up to 100%, right? But you will still be way ahead of where you were when you started the journey, right? And so there's no reason to defeat yourself. Just get back up. Just keep fucking going, keep fucking pushing. Realize why you failed, why you fell, and then overcome it. It's as simple as that. So now we will actually go over the benefits themselves. The first benefit is increased energy and physical strength. So the longer you go on semen retention, and the more you learn to transmute it as well, because those two do go hand in hand, right? It's not all about the days, but the further you get into it and the more you learn to transmute, the more energy you have access to. Simple as that. Excuse me. Choked on my spit. But the longer you go, the more you transmute the energy, the more energy you have access to on a day-to-day basis, right? For me right now, I have more energy than I could ever possibly get out into this video, right? Talking to a camera just doesn't do it for me. But it's the work I've committed myself to. So I'm here and I'm doing it, and that's why I record 5 videos a day, 6 videos a day, right? Yesterday it was 4 because I got home late. Today I'll probably do another 4 because I don't know if I have a lot of time. At this rate, I might only get 1 done because this video ran on a bit longer. But that's why I do a lot of content, right? That's why I work for a fairly long time. I come here for about 4 to 6 hours every day, and I'm working on scripting, I'm working on videos, content, and then I'm working on either studying for other content ideas or I'm building out. I'm writing ebooks. I am writing ebooks on semen retention, by the way. I have one that's out right now. But I have two semen retention ebooks that I'm about to be releasing for free for all of you guys on YouTube to actually read and look at. So be on the lookout for those in any of my other future semen retention videos. I'll probably be announcing those. So I'm writing ebooks. I'm working on stuff, right? I'm going straight through and through. That's because I have so much energy to get out that I can't get it out, right? Like I can't get it out until I go to the gym later. Right. Eventually I'll go to the gym and I'll work out, and that's usually what ends up calming me down and relaxing me a bit. So the energy increase is pretty intense, especially when you learn how to transmute. And the other thing is physical strength, right? I mentioned the gym. In the gym, I show up, I pick up the normal weight that I was lifting yesterday or last week or whatever. I lift it and it just feels light. It feels like I'm about to rep this out for 12 and be bored as fuck. And that's exactly what happens. And then I look and I'm like, what the hell? Like what the hell? This was heavy last week, right? And this is a constant process, right? It happens every time. Basically, the point is that your physical strength is increased in an intense way, but it's also at a state where it's constantly growing as well, right? You're not just going to get this big strength booster and then stop there, right? It's a continuous process. That's why the gym and working out is necessary, because you need to work out and you need to work it in order for it to work. Like, I can't sit here and say, you as a skinny neck nerd who doesn't fucking go outside ever, right? You probably won't have a crazy big strength increase. You'll feel like it, but you'll still probably only be able to lift like 10 pounds, right? But if you work out consistently, you will have such an intense strength boost that you will continue to go up and up and up if you keep working at it, right? That's the key. You got to work at it to get the benefits, right? That's what I was talking about earlier. You have to work at it in order to get the benefits. But if you work at it, you will continuously be able to increase your strength to levels you didn't even think were possible before, right? And so that's one of the beautiful benefits, is that you have a sense of physical strength and vitality, right? It's not even just lifting weight, right? But overall, I feel stronger, right? Overall, I have more energy, more potency to who I am, more power behind even my words, right? Even the words that I speak have more power behind them. This is because you increase in your actual physical vitality. Because you retain this resource inside of you, the energy that's flowing through you is literally more intense. There is literally more energy flowing through my nervous system than yours, because I retain and you don't, is what I would guess if you're watching this video. Obviously, if you're retaining and watching it for information, that's different. But if you're sitting here watching this video deciding that you want to start retaining, that is who I'm really talking to here. but I literally have more energy flowing through my nervous system than the average person, right? You will literally have more energy flowing through your nervous system than the average person. Your brain will work better because there's more energy moving through it, and it can move faster, right? The next one is mental clarity and higher cognition. My brain works better, right? I'm more clear on who I am, who I want to be, what I want to do. The things I'm learning are clearly understood by me. And cognition means I can comprehend things on a deeper level, right? I can understand things easily. I can understand them on a very deep level easily. And I don't even have to go over how important of a benefit this is, right? Because I'm sure you understand. Having a better brain, a brain that literally works better than everybody else. While most entrepreneurs are currently out sleeping with women because they've become successful and they think that that's a means to indulge, right? While they're off sleeping with women, I'm looking at them thinking about how their brains aren't going to work as well as mine now. My brain is literally sharper. My brain is literally more powerful, right? And this isn't an ego thing. This is just a fact. If you really commit yourself to this journey, you will experience the exact same benefit, the exact same thing. If you really commit yourself to this journey, your brain will also become sharper, will also become better, right? I'm not special, but I'm doing a thing that literally separates me, that literally allows my brain to work better, right? So mental clarity and higher cognition, right? The brain becomes more vital, right? It has more energy. Connections, neuronal connections can be destroyed and replaced easier because you now have the resource to build new neurons, right? You literally have the resource to rebuild and rewire the brain because this energy can be used and transformed into anything and everything. Everything is created from this base energy, sexual energy. So that includes brain cells, that includes neurotransmitters and neuromodulators and hormones and nervous energy as well, right? So the CSF, the cerebral spinal fluid, right? The fluid that hydrates the brain is made up of semen. And so when we are draining ourselves, we are actually dehydrating our brain as well. We are actually draining our brains and making it harder for our brains to work. This is where the brain fog comes from. But when we transmute it, our brain becomes more hydrated. All of those nutrients from the semen then flood the brain, making it feel more healthy, more vital, and that's where we get the benefit of higher mental clarity and higher cognition. And the next thing and second to last thing is spiritual evolution. Even if you aren't spiritual, even if you don't believe in a God, even if you don't believe in any of this, you will naturally become more spiritual on this journey because you will learn how to become aware of and tap into subtle energies. The spiritual dimensions are intertwined within the physical ones, which means that we are experiencing all of them at once. All spiritual dimensions. Our world is made up of 12. We're currently somewhere within the first to the third. The lowest. We are in the physical. All higher dimensions exist within this one. They're not separated. It is just that our awareness allows us to perceive certain aspects of reality, and so therefore we experience the physical world. But within the physical world is the astral. Intertwined within the physical is the astral. Within your body, within your own physical body, there is an etheric body that allows you to access these realms. There's other bodies as well, don't get me wrong, but the etheric body also allows you to access within these internal worlds, these spiritual dimensions. They exist within the first one. They exist within this physical one. And so what that means is When you increase your ability to perceive subtle energies, you also increase your ability to perceive other dimensions. Not some, not some weird, like, woo-woo other dimension, but you will begin to perceive the other parts of yourself, specifically the internal versions of yourself, the internal realities of who you are. And this is where you will actually face yourself and transform and transmute yourself. Excuse my stretch. So the last thing I have is sexual transmutation. The last benefit of sexual transmutation is the ability to take what would be a low urge, a low desire, and transform it into something that is actually beneficial, that is actually higher in nature. For example, if you want to build a body of your dreams, you can transmute your sexual desire, your desire to indulge sexually, into physical growth, into physical strength increases, into the energy needed in order to create a different version of who you are. And that is a powerful skill to learn. And that is the purpose of semen retention. So if you'd like to learn more about how to do that, go ahead and click that top link in the description or the second link in the description, and you can work with me one-on-one, where I'll teach you exactly how to do this. But aside from that, I'm out of here. That's all I got for you guys. And peace.